Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Challenge 41 Wrap Up Podcast for episode 12. I am Brian Cohen. With me, as always, my co host, Ali Lasher. Ali, how are you?
I'm doing great. I was looking forward to another episode. I put this in the Facebook group, but it's been a while since I've really looked forward to watching the episode. Just
Mm-hmm.
banger after banger.
Would you get okay? So, still banger. Still banger. You put this
I,
still in the banger category?
I'm just so high on it because we were together this weekend with
Mm-hmm.
the biggest gathering of RHAP people I've ever been at,
Yep.
outside of a sanctioned event at Matt and Jofo's wedding.
Honestly, maybe
And
more than a sanctioned event. I feel like more
yeah,
RG people might have been there than any know-it-alls I've ever been to.
I mean, if I'm there, then yeah, it's probably the biggest gathering.
Right.
I'm fringe, so
Or it's
but
2015.
right, but even then, but it was so fun talking about how good the challenge was. That was like a
Mm-hmm.
main topic of conversation. Chappelle's really high on the season. Mel Got Served was there; she's high on the season. So I feel like I spent a lot of time recounting to other reality TV fans who have maybe fallen off how good the season is. Was this episode standalone, like 10 out of 10, level one challenge? No, but I'm still continuing on the whole of the excitement. I'm excited to watch next week's episode. I
Yeah.
don't feel
Yeah.
like it's dipped significantly where I'm here to complain about it.
No, I would. I'm not even down on this episode. I mean, the fact that we have an actual challenge blindside is, put this in the record books for rarity. So, I mean, I still thought it was a very good episode. I just thought the excitement of last week was a little bit more. But no, this is still just like when you drop this episode on season 38 or something like that. This might be the best episode of the season. So this is we're cooking with gas still. I feel like.
We're seeing challengers understand the format and strategize around it.
And it's Leroy.
My God.
And it's Leroy doing it. It's I feel like a proud parent, like watching Leroy and like doing all he coming up with the schemes and like people coming back to him to tell him his own scheme. It's like, yeah, I know, I came up with this idea. It's like, go Leroy, go.
Okay, there are several points that I'm going to ask questions about. I'm not saying anything for sure. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything, but magnifying glass, I have to ask some questions about the order of operations of what
Sure.
we're seeing because I'm a little suspicious of Leroy's reaction in that moment and the real order we were seeing this
Right.
unfold. But I will accept the edited product when it's giving credit to Leroy, the strategist, the undisputed, uncontested strategist of season 41.
It's so fun to watch. It's so fun to see his evolution. Anissa, while self-reflecting, she doesn't really hasn't really evolved. Noting Leroy has evolved, and maybe it's sure it's taken him a long time to get here, but we've seen glimpses of it in the past. Like there was, I think this what was one of the rival seasons where Bananas was knocked out theoretically early, but then came back. Like him and Zach were really like a powerhouse, kind of running things. So there's been glimpses for Leroy. And again, without Bananas, he does flex this muscle a little bit more. So it's very fun to see him really go about that. I'm sure Cam has had an influence on him, working on the strategic mind, helping him a little bit. So it's very fun to see.
Yeah, Killer Leroy. I was worried when Jeremy sets up yet again the alliances in the house, which this is maybe the first season I'm starting to say it's too much of resetting the same alliance.
Impact.
Normally things are so hard to follow that I need them to put them on the screen every week. Here it's exactly the same people, except this time they left out Leroy in America. And I was like, oh no, do Leroy and America go home this week? And they just
Mm-hmm.
did a shitty editing job and put this at the top. So I was happy to see that wasn't the case, but I was worried the whole episode.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was very concerned. And I agree. It is wild to get. I almost wish they did different names. They kind of doing sort of the different names every time, but it is unbelievable to do the same pictures, the same graphics, the same silhouettes of the same people. When of all the seasons, this actually it would be the easiest because it's just Olivia's boyfriend, and then Anissa, and then it's like everyone else. It's not even like why is this person with this person? It's like the main couple, and then Anissa. It's like not that hard to piece them all together.
Yeah. The things I do need help piecing together, which they didn't do, are two moments before the daily. The first is Derek saying, I made a move and now I have to really lock in and build trust with Jeremy and Aviv. When was this move that Derek made?
I really appreciate this because I really thought I was watching episode 13 and it's
Me
like mid
too.
12. I'm like, what's going on? Am I in the Matrix? Did I black out for a week? What's happening? Because his new number one is Aviv and Yermi. What, like, since when? Like, what are we talking about? I don't know when this would have happened. And now we know, like, nothing else could possibly happen, like that they would have spliced us in because Derek's eliminated. So I don't know when this confessional, if it wasn't now, when would it have been about? And if it was now, what was it about?
And like last week, we saw people talking about D in the alliance or like writing D. Ashley was writing a list of D and Derek that circled D. So it did seem like Derek was going along to get along and voting with D because that's where the house was, and a lot of his friends were eliminated, CT, etc. But Derek and D won last week, so they didn't have to vote. So maybe there was a conversation between the four of them that just didn't make air because it didn't matter, and then they go home the next week.
Maybe.
But why keep this in? I mean, they needed Derek spike. Like, I don't know. I don't know why they kept this clip in.
Is it possible he teed him up with a certain question during the costume party, and like that was the big move that like he set them up with something and we missed all that blowback? I don't know. I was even going back. I'm like, wait, last week there was not even a vote. It was a stake, and they lost. So there was, and they won.
That's
so
true. So they wouldn't have even voted if they had
There was
a vote.
quite literally no decision other than Gabe being a bonehead. And Derek wasn't even involved in that. So I don't know what the big move that Derek is talking about is.
And then the other one where I was like, okay, like maybe this was sloppy. But then this next part, I was like, okay, I'm watching the wrong episode. Theo says he was betrayed by Turbo. Now, I understand there was a big fight. I understand Theo thinks Turbo is going to throw him under the bus because of some fake reaction to him calling people the P word.
Mm-hmm.
But Turbo didn't do anything last week to betray Theo. He wasn't responsible for anything. I mean, Theo was responsible for getting Gabe to stake a claim. So what did Turbo do to betray Theo?
I mean, I guess like publicly getting into a spat of like and putting him on blast and putting more of a spotlight on him, I guess, and like publicly showing he's not with him. I mean, I wouldn't say it was like a betrayal, but that's where like maybe it's like a little more of a charged word, but like just going at him in any degree. Like if it's supposed to be your number one, and all of a sudden you're fighting in a public forum, there's a degree of betrayal, I guess.
I think those in who have betrayed Glass whatever, those in the Glass House is a betrayal shouldn't be throwing betrayal because Turbo was pissed at Theo for sort of upsetting the apple cart, getting Gabe in, affecting Nani, etc. So like I don't even think Turbo should say that Theo betrayed him directly, but if anyone's going to claim betrayal, it would be Turbo. Like Theo executed a claim. Maybe he's executed a plan. Maybe he's anticipating betrayal from Turbo, but we're really having a low standard for what revenge is. A preemptive revenge, I think, is just an attack.
Yeah, and even still, like Theo was the number one target, so like he's now just more of the number. It wasn't like he was like they're a full blindside. Like if anything, you want betrayal. Like now, like Theo could try to do a betrayal of being blindsided of like not doing the stake. Like that would be a betrayal move, just reinforcing your stake as the number one person that's going to be targeted. Yeah, the betrayal benchmark is pretty low.
I really do like the idea of doing a betrayal. You did a betrayal. It's like Akiva and I saying you did an anti-Semitism. You did a betrayal.
well, what was the word they used for rival instead? Where like the grammar nerds were coming out. The oh my god, I
Vendetta?
have a vendetta. Yeah. Like I have a vendetta. Like I don't like. I feel like wasn't the grammar police were going crazy with that one. So
I don't know if there's grammar police. They're no longer listening to this podcast for both of us. Not
certainly for me
and for Leroy in this episode where he needs help. And I actually think the line they gave him is incorrect.
Yeah, so they fed him just ask for forgiveness, not permission.
They said it's better to ask for forgiveness, not permission. I think the phrase is just ask for forgiveness, not permission.
I've heard it's better. I've heard it's better before that. I think it could be both. It could be both.
Well, we'll defer to the expert.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
Fair enough.
The daily. I mean, that's really it before the daily,
Yeah.
right? Challenge the daily. Two. I'm not going to do the ad break right now. We're like 10 minutes in, so I'll find the spot later on. Peek behind the
We'll
curtain.
do Glenn Powell's ad break instead.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So this is
And
the.
do you know who he is, by the way? Do you know Glenn Powell?
I do know who Glenn Powell is. I
Okay.
do know him. So
He's less famous, I think, than the Wayans family. But I
interesting.
don't
You think so?
yes, 100%. Like 150%.
All right. Well, let's put that to the audience. Who's more famous?
It's
The
not even close. Okay,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like Glenn Powell's like one of the most famous. Okay, I don't know. This is a losing battle. But
Yeah, of like the last 3 years, like to a millennial Gen Z audience.
yeah,
I was gonna say, does your mom know who Glenn Powell is? But like Plainview Sue is very online.
I think she would know.
She's a bad judge.
Yeah. The challenge also called Running Man, based off somehow the movie. I kind of lost track of the connection, but the other for this week, you have to use a key, a random key, to unlock a shed. Once you do that, you pull open all the ropes and the chains to open the door. Drive the car to a station. Use power tools. Take off the hood. Take out the tracker before it explodes, and run to a bucket and drop it in.
I people are gonna hate this because like I think for a challenge with a car to have everyone run at the same time, I commend them.
Mm-hmm.
I was extremely bored watching this challenge. Sorry to report. Sorry to Glenn Powell.
Yeah, it was a weird, like, I know this was a classic. They were going for the form over substance to a degree, but I feel like they almost didn't go into the bit enough. Like, the whole thing was just whoever luckily finds the key. Like, there's no skill to that. You just pick up a key and you start guessing. So there's nothing there. And then you only drive one spot, and some people didn't even drive. It seemed to be short enough that you could just like push the car. And then all you do is take out a track. Like, I felt like there could have been so much more to make this flashy the way they would want it to be. This was like neither performative nor substantive. So it's
Yeah.
kind of lame.
I think that's well said. I didn't really have words for like why I was bored by this because there weren't like many of the usual complaints I could make, but I think that was perfectly said. Wasn't interesting as a challenge and it wasn't
Clip
sexy.
That. Where clip that? Making that my ringtone. My God. Perfectly said. That's a 1 of 1.
What do you make that my ringtone? No, it wasn't sexy and it wasn't like intriguing challenge. So yeah, end of story. What I did like is Leroy saying, quote, I have the body of a Ford truck with the energy of a golf cart. Put that on a tote. That was an all-time. I don't like the thread of Leroy dogging himself physically all season, but I did like how he said that.
I was just thinking how pissed Jordan probably was that he didn't get to do a challenge involving power tools, because I'm sure he'd been, I do this every day just for fun, and da. He loves doing that type of stuff. So that's
cars.
Or cars. That's what popped into my head. Also, I guess if you're gonna go into like one of the other like random skill sets that you really should learn, it pops up every once in a while enough now that it should be part of your challenge repertoire, is you should learn how to drive stick if you're gonna go on the challenge. Like I would say once every 3 or 4 seasons, like you driving a car that's not manual or that is manual pops up. So I think you should, if you want to be a challenge regular, I would say spend an afternoon learn how to drive stick, and make sure you have that as your skill set.
Brian pro tip. Let's talk about, I guess, the real intrigue of the challenge was this fight between Michaela and Olivia. I was happy to see Leroy didn't even really understand what happened. He kind of asked Olivia later what occurred, although he probably wasn't back yet when this happened. But I guess like Michaela was kind of muttering under her breath about Theo cheating because he came back without his partner.
Yep.
Wasn't cheating, but like it's not like he thought he had finished and would be marked in, 3rd place or whatever it was.
Yeah, this almost feels like it's more stems from like a continuation, and I don't remember how much Michaela was doing the eating. I feel like Theo didn't do that much. I don't know if it was like people sense that Theo was one of the more blatant cheaters of that daily, and it's now been like talked about that maybe he didn't really eat much, and he was one of the biggest reasons why it was almost all DQ'd, and Michaela's like taking it out on him because. Yeah, what Theo did here didn't seem to matter. I mean, also they weren't winning, which was like middle of the pack, so who really cares? It almost felt like it was a continuation of that. Like maybe there was a sense in the house.
Yeah, that plus she was really pissed at the Gabe thing. She was one of the people who was like talking to Gabe about, the move as he was making it when he stuck a claim, staked a claim last week. And, I was a little hard on Michaela. I can relate to her strong sense of justice and being angry because something happens that's just like a stupid move for someone in the game.
Right.
But Michaela's in a good position and she probably shouldn't be letting that air out of the balloon. Like, more sympathetic, again, I could not be. It would be hard for me to not take jabs at Theo if he was annoying me like he is her validly. But from a game perspective, I'm not understanding why she's coming so hot at Olivia.
No, and that's what makes Michaela so good on the show is like you don't really see people on a lot of these other rally competition shows as well positioned, both within an alliance and to maybe win a season as Michaela is, openly just like taking shots at people. Like she's done it throughout the whole season, like randomly firing things, even in confessionals or to them. Like she's got no filter in a good way. So, it's very refreshing to have someone like her on a season like this. Where if this was like like Bananas in the core of an alliance, right? Or not, I guess he gets in the fights, but other people that would be more willing just to like keep their feelings to themselves, you wouldn't see this. But it's good for Michaela. If she's pissed at Theo, take shots, do it, entertain us.
To Michaela's credit, she's so, from what we see, well positioned in the game. I have some questions about the speech she made at nominations later, but at this point, she and Cedric seem so well positioned, both socially and performance wise. And Olivia is so poorly positioned in the game. She's punching down, or I guess in this case, threatening to punch down,
Right.
but it's not really. There's a low expectation that it would impact her in the game. Like, what's Olivia going to do? No one's going to vote Michaela because she got angry at Theo during a challenge.
Right. That's fair. But I almost feel like she would do it anyway. That's where, like, I appreciate it. Like, I think Michaela would kind of act like this way no matter what. Because if she's acting like this when she's well positioned, I feel like she would be more willing to call out people if she was, like, feeling more on the outs. So.
Sure. I mean, I guess the only risk is we do have another member of the other alliance go home. So I shouldn't say no one would vote Michaela. No one in her alliance would vote Michaela. The other side maybe is fixing to vote Michaela next week. We'll see what happens with that. But I'm jumping ahead. One other thing I wanted to say here. First of all, Aviv and Jeremy finish first. It comes down to Ashley and Leo versus Derek and Dee for the end. Ashley and Leo start running. Someone screams wrong way. Who is that screaming? Presumably, I guess someone from the contestants.
It has to be, because if it's production, like that's there's again, precedent doesn't mean anything, but there's very clear evidence that people could run the wrong way. They could run all the way back to America if they want before they'll stop them from going the wrong way. So better have been someone in the show doing it, not production.
Yeah, I had some questions about that, but it looked like Derek and Dee were just very far behind, losers. Now, this is a stupid thing to quibble with because he does say about, but Derek strikes me as a guy who absolutely knows his win and loss record in elimination, even if he's saying it casually. So he says he's 13 and out of 20, not 13 and 20, but he's won 13 times out of 20. I went to Challenge Wiki, so I can't verify this. Challenge Wiki says he has 12 wins out of 19. So my question is Derek counting when him and Blue went into elimination? Or that would be a loss. She lost. So maybe he was just wrong.
Well,
okay,
the question is, I don't know if it has a little footnote. Does it include this? Because it's technically like he was in an elimination, but he had no threat of going home. Does it count maybe his most iconic elimination win when he beat Joss as a mercenary? Because that could be it.
That could be it.
Which you could ask the question, is that elimination win? I don't know. It's so iconic that I almost feel like you have to include it, or maybe it's so iconic you should include it separately.
This is going to sound surprising. I would objectively count it as a win.
I would, yeah. I think I would too.
Like it's a win because the only argument would be if it was a loss. It's like, well, he didn't have the same motivation. Like I think there's a better argument in my mind to be made if he lost to not count it as an elimination loss. But if he wins without any motivation besides pride and money to win, then I think it's even more impressive.
Yeah, it's like the new NBA rule where if you throw up a half-court shot and you miss it, it doesn't matter. But if it goes in, you get the credit.
I was just going to say that. That's
I know. I
crazy.
took the words right out of your mouth.
Why did I think Blue won an elimination?
I don't know. I don't know.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
No. Anyway. All right. Well, glad we got to the bottom of that. Good on Derek for knowing his record.
That's the only time we'll say good on Derek this week.
I did think it was really interesting that Olivia had the thought of like, once you don't win, should you not finish first so you don't have to vote first?
Yeah. No, I mean it's very cool. Also, like if you don't win, it takes you out of like the voting, right? Or if you win, it takes you away from voting. It removes the number. Because now like this format is setting up similar-ish to when they had one of the draws, whereas like if you're in the like, are you better off just being in the bottom three
The
so you
Leroy
can't even get
method.
vote? Yeah, again, the strategic mastermind Leroy. I was like, I'm not even gonna like put myself up for the vote. I'm gonna take myself up for chance. It's a little obviously not the same, but it's giving those vibes of like, should you win, where do you finish, and things like that. So it is that extra layer, and yeah, interesting to see Olivia do it. I would be so curious. It hasn't played out yet of two teams about to win. There's someone like, wait, let's not win and let them win, so we vote. I'm curious to see if that ever plays out like that. I would like you would need to really have it well thought out and like really well positioned to understand why you're doing it to like take yourself off the basically give up immunity. But potentially there could be something there to have it play out like that.
Yeah, I think next it bodes well that Olivia is the one thinking of this because she's sort of the side of the lines that would need to benefit from this.
Mm-hmm.
We're going down to 6. I guess it's 6-3 next week. So if two people from the other alliance, one loses and one wins, that takes it down to 4-3. So it's still 4-3.
Right. So it couldn't be yet. And also
Like
the
2 more
danger,
weeks.
yeah. But even like the danger, like it was like you would need to be like Olivia and Theo 1-2, and they're like, actually, wait, let's have someone else win because you still can't do it because then what if your other partner loses and then you lose that vote?
Right.
So it's like it's threading a very specific needle to make it play out.
Yeah. Yeah. Um it also makes me think of what would have happened in this vote, right? Because we'll talk about the decoy vote, but I guess all of the Closet Alliance was going to vote for Leroy in America anyway, and just hope that the main alliance were voting for Anissa and Jake and letting it happen. But part of me was like, was Olivia planning to vote for Anissa just to like hope it went through? And if she's the
Mm-hmm.
leadoff vote, like that would be really crazy if you can like manipulate someone to turn on the group, know that they're going to vote first, and then doubly screw them.
Yeah, and I mean this is a little jumping ahead, but I almost wonder now. Like this is, I feel like this at least the second time, maybe even three times now that like Leroy and America have kind of just been like the team floated out there as never really seemingly going in, but like as an option the other side thinks is going in. And I wonder if Leroy, the strategic mastermind, at some point will recognize, is he like not really in the end of this like closet alliance, and at what point do you just flip and join, just hop on board Olivia and Theo? Because he could be that swing vote that's, in a very close vote that can swing. Because he has to recognize that now the second time that Olivia and Theo are in their heads thinking that they're going to be the vote. So there has to be, they're not coming up with that on their own. So maybe
I
there's
mean,
some
they
truth
are
there.
though, but yeah, like I think the fear is like if you get down, or if they get down to Anissa and Jake, is the main alliance going to be more threatened by America and Leroy in the final and go to chop them like they're the bottom? But I do think it is just coming from Olivia and Theo. Like I
It
don't
could,
think we've seen anyone make a deal with the Closet Alliance saying it's going to be Leroy in America.
it could be, but if it happens multiple times in your head, like you could be told, like, oh, they're just coming up with that on their own. But if that was me, I'd be like, there's no way that, like, they have to be at some point, maybe being even casually fed a name, and we're the ones that you guys are like willingly saying potentially. So even if it's not the case, the fact that it's playing out so much, they might just manifest it to be the case.
That's fair. I'm actually just trying to look at the voting history quickly. Um God, there's so many different charts that need to be made of like who was partners with who got points, who got this. It's like to get to the voting, it's like impossible. Um anyway, yeah, I guess America's caught more votes than Leroy from just like a group of people. But
Yeah,
anyway,
because I just remember even like some of John A's freakouts. She was like, "Well, it's between us and America and Leroy," and it's like we never foresaw that even as a possibility. So again, like they're just name was just like floating out there ish. So I don't know. They're definitely not in the
yeah,
core.
no, and I think part of it, right, is we saw Leroy publicly, strong arm his partner to not vote for Anissa.
Sure.
So the fact that Anissa has really solidified herself with the Olivia side of things, and America is in with, Jeremy and the Janes, but not in with Jeremy and the Janes, then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I think they're solidly with the other side, but they don't have many other strong connections within that side once they have to start eating each other.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
And he says that. He says, like, I think people are looking at us like we'd be easy to beat in elimination.
Yeah,
So
which is probably right. Probably
it's
right.
got an eye out.
To a degree.
It was funny that Olivia says, like, Aviv and Jeremy and Ashley and Leo are completely off the table because they have more value to people I'm working with. It's like, well, Aviv and Jeremy are off the table because they won the challenge.
Right.
And Jake and Leo are friends. I don't think like Jeremy and Aviv are completely off the table for them forever.
Yeah, I was again, another clip. I don't know what she's talking about. I thought she'd be like, well, she's like listing the people like this person's off the table because they won. I thought they were going to say that this team is off the table because they lost. But then it's like I don't know. That was a weird convention. I'm just like tossing that aside, but like that means nothing to me.
One thing that ended up meaning something, but gave me just very weird vibes with the conversation between Michaela, Turbo, and Derek, where like Turbo was like, yes, Michaela, I love how you fight. Women fight better than these P-word boys. And Derek like jumps in on the action as like kind of a joke. And then Turbo's like, I'd like to see you fight more. And Michaela's like, you fight against some of the big boys. Like I think Turbo and Michaela have very weird energy when they're in power together.
Yeah, they're not completely dissimilar personality types. Sometimes I think Michaela hides it a little bit more, but she's got a little Turbo in her.
Dangerous. Yeah, so at that point I was like, all right, no one's taking a claim. However, I want to say I cannot understand. Let's talk about the scheming because I cannot understand how this worked. I need to hear from Theo and Adrian. What is to be lost? Everything's to be gained. Even if you believe Jake and Anissa were going in this week, or you thought it was 50-50. It's going to be you next week. You're not going to win your way to the final. Like, what is stopping them from staking a claim?
So the one thing that could be gained is if Anissa goes in and then wins, like it takes that number away, Derek and D. So it then get things a little bit closer. So there are some things to be gained, like,
but not close enough.
I think not close enough. But I think where this really worked, and maybe again this could have just been the edit, and maybe like things were weird. And I would love to know if this was on purpose. But to me, where it seemed like it really, really worked was Leroy having the conversation with Anissa, and them basically listening in to a fake conversation. Like and Leroy said, a fake conversation. So they heard firsthand, seemingly, what Leroy told Anissa, and then Anissa tells them. But like they heard it firsthand, and then they hear Anissa telling them. Like I don't know if Leroy did that purposely, where like he knew that other people were listening in. If he did, I mean, that's just unbelievable job by Leroy to have that conversation so perfectly, like more out in the open for people listening in. But it seemed like that's where it really was sold, and that's where they bought it. Of like they're like also it was bought in on like 15 years of Leroy. Like Anissa's like, I'm not like this is not Leroy. He's a straight shooter. He's not going to do this. So I like to me that's like the pivotal moment of like, all right, well, Leroy's telling me I'm going in. Like he's not going to BS me. I'm going in.
But like there is a very realistic version of this plan where the main alliance misdirects Leroy.
Sure.
And says,
absolutely,
it's going to be Aviv, Anissa, and Jake, and we don't need your vote. And they don't. But we're telling you because you're with us, we need to like mix it up between them so they don't know who goes in. And so it's going to be Anissa and see if Leroy tells. It's just like, I just don't know. I think it's frankly a huge disadvantage in this format to not have a survivor in your alliance. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that people on other shows, Big Brother, The Challenge, whatever, can't. Are you the one? Whatever. Love Island, Kiss of Jake, can't game this, but this is just so Survivor one-on-one 101 from people who played with
Yeah.
a shot in the dark or with idols that it's like if one Survivor person was on their team, I think they would have raised it like, hey, this could be a misdirect. Do we
Mhm.
want to stake a claim because we're just going to get picked off one by one until we're all go home?
Yeah, I know 100%. I was thinking the same thing. Like D would sniff this out, even like Sydney, McKay, like they all of them would sniff out. They'd be like, no, they're just this is I'm being snowed, I'm being blindsided. 100%. I thought the same exact thing. But I mean, the difference here is like obviously in Survivor, like if you have an idol or whatever, and you misread the situation, and actually the votes are coming on you, boom, you're just gone. So like there is still that out that Theo and Adrian could play of like we could this could work. Maybe Anissa is going in and maybe they win. And if not, like at least we're saving it for another week and we're buying us up some time. But worst case, we were still just going to elimination and maybe we could win. So it's not like obviously as dire as being snowed on Survivor or Big Brother, but it's still I think they didn't want this to happen. So like in their mind it is pretty bad, but it's not obviously, game over type situation.
Yeah, and it's not the same in Survivor Big Brother where only one person's going to win. Like 4 or 5 teams going to make are going to make the final.
That's it.
So you can kind of hope it whittles down close enough where you just slip in. But the reality is these 3 teams with their performance are unlikely to just like win their way into the final.
Sure.
So it was just I don't know. Like I'm not saying what I would do in the situation because it is tough to risk putting yourself into elimination when you weren't going to go in like Gabe. Like Theo doesn't want to pull a Gabe after he played Gabe last week and send himself in when he wasn't going to go in. I just think for him and his girlfriend's long game, so much like there's so much improvement available from successfully staking a claim to basically split up your votes
Yeah.
and split up the power alliance that it would be worth the risk here, especially again on a game like the challenge where Theo and Olivia are almost definitely going to get invited back. So why not roll the dice on this?
So we only really saw Sydney talking about like afraid that someone would come for Turbo. I don't think Adrian would challenge Sydney. So like if they were to stake, and let's say it happens next week, like A, who does it? And then B, who do they go after?
Well, I was going to ask you this, who you thought could win, who had a better chance of winning, Theo versus Turbo or Sydney versus Adrian, because I think like Adrian and Sydney were neck and neck in points. I think Adrian should be intimidated to challenge Sydney, especially based on the edits Sydney's gotten. But I don't think she never would. Like, I think Adrian could get pushed to be like, I'm just going to go bold. I'm going to take this big move. I'm tired of being in and like playing from the bottom and people treating me like I don't have my own brain, like happens with Leo this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's drawing dead against Sydney.
No, but like if they're staking a claim because they're trying to like break up an alliance and they mix up the numbers. Like for Adrian, getting Turbo, like yes, he's obviously like probably the best individual person in the game, so a great partner. But to me, that just makes Turbo and Adrian the easy vote every single time now going in. Like I think they would just see like Turbo's not that insulated in this group. I think they're 100% just gonna be voted in every time. So
I
if her
think
goal is to build a relationship, I don't see that happening with Turbo as her partner.
I think you're hugely underestimating Turbo's social position in the house. Because we saw that weird scene with Jeremy and Cedric where Jeremy and Cedric like make an alliance. He would remain, I think, very close with Sydney. He's very close with Nani still. I think it's hard to find someone in a better position, and people are afraid to go in against him. So if somebody in the main alliance goes in, they're going to say, do not put Adrian and Turbo in against me.
I think the social positioning is more from like the Sydney side of it. I think Sydney's so insulated in that group now. Maybe on the less so with Dee's gone, but like the Survivor trio of her and Michaela, I feel like we're pretty strong. Like they're like outside like ancillary connections. I don't know. I could be wrong. I thought Turbo's connectionness now was more because of Sydney, and if he was with Adrian, like I feel like a lot of people would be like, all right, now we could just like vote in Turbo every time. But I could, yeah. I mean, you could be right.
Yeah, not my sense at all. And I think like that chain to Sydney doesn't sever because Sydney and him get split up. Like maybe it would have to because of like the way the teams would flop, but Sydney would be with Theo. So like Sydney and Turbo would have aligned interests in terms of their partners working together. So I think it would be interesting, and I'm trying to think of who else. So like Nani and Justin can't be
Can't do that.
separated. You're not Anissa and Jake and Olivia and Will won't get you anywhere. So they're not going to do America and Leroy because presumably Adrian and Theo would agree on this plan, and I don't
Yep.
think America really Leroy frankly improves the position.
You can't do Aviv and Jeremy, who honestly probably would be one of
Well,
the
you
best
can't this
people.
week. Can you
Right.
next
I'm
week?
saying you can't. Like, you couldn't do it this week. Like if they were going to do it, but next week you could. But that's probably
Yeah,
a bad
maybe
matchup for each of
Adrian would
them.
have to. Well, Adrian would have to go against Aviv. I think Theo against Jeremy would be stupid.
Yeah, that would be
Cedric and
tough.
Michaela. I do think Theo could beat Cedric. I'm not saying he would beat Cedric. I think it's like a
Yeah.
good matchup.
Yeah.
His best chance.
Mhm.
Leo, I think though imagine watching Leo and Theo one-on-one in a puzzle. Nightmare.
It's too many EOs.
I think Adrian has to do it. I think Adrian has a better chance of beating a vet woman than Theo has a chance of one-on-one beating a rookie man. But maybe Theo's more willing to do it because he's got a better position with the challenge franchise in general. There's obviously a lot of sort of meta considerations in the background.
It did seem like, only because we only heard it from Sydney, it did seem like it was going to be Adrian going for Sydney and not Theo. But
we'll see. But it was no one. And then, the other question is, if they did such a good job convincing Anissa that she and Jake are going to go in, why didn't they stake a claim? Because at pretty much, if you're being voted in and you know it and you're confident, you should always stake a claim.
Unless you like your partner. I mean, if you like your partner.
Even if you like your partner. I mean, I guess not if you're like Turbo and Sydney. If you like your partner, meaning you think you can win or will win the final with them. But if you don't think you will win the final with them, even if you like them, you should stake a claim to try to avoid elimination and improve your social game. Because if you're getting voted in, you're on the bottom.
Right.
So like Anissa and Jake, maybe Anissa and Jake think they can win together. I think Jake has to believe that he's not winning the final with his current partner.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's really convinced he's going in, he should stake a claim.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't at least see that as part of the conversation, which also could have still worked for Theo and Adrian of like, they did it last week with Gabe, or maybe there was such negative pushback on what Gabe did, and now people are a little tentative to do it unless like really pushed to it. And it seemed like maybe Theo and Adrian would be, but maybe like Jake hasn't like gassed himself up to like leave Anissa, if she's not really into it.
So backing up to who gets responsibility, who gets credit for this move, we see Leroy first raise it to Sydney. Her plan is, I'm going to show my abs all day in a bikini so that Adrian's too intimidated to pick me. I respect that move a lot.
Love that. Great.
Leroy's like, well, we need to misdirect the vote so that Theo and Adrian don't stake a claim. Let's make Anissa and Jake the decoy target. I'm blown away. Mr. Leroy, I'm blown away. Mm-hmm. Then we get to the night out, and D comes to Leroy and suggests this plan.
Right.
Now, either D and Leroy had the exact same thought, one, or D told Leroy, and then Leroy went to Sydney, and that was edited out of order. Or Sydney told D the plan as communicated by Leroy, but did not say it was Leroy's idea. And I just have to believe the most likely scenario is that we saw this out of order.
So that would have been what, the next day, I guess, potentially? But like, that still doesn't make sense, because if we saw it out of order, wouldn't Leroy have been like, D said this plan? And also D wouldn't, like, Sydney wouldn't have known, like, D wouldn't have told Sydney this plan also. There's no way D has this plan, tells Leroy at the bar, and Sydney has no idea. And then she finds out the next morning from Leroy. Like,
well, I guess in all scenarios, we're not seeing every conversation. So did Leroy say, D came to me with a plan and it's a really good plan. We need to misdirect the vote so that Leroy and Sydney don't the same thing. Did the same thing happen? Did D say, Sydney told me you told her, and I think we need to misdirect the vote? So like, I don't know. But I think what we saw is like, if Leroy was acting like that was the first time he said it, or maybe he told Sydney, I don't want Anissa to know this was my idea, so you spread this and don't tell anyone it was my idea.
Possible.
Again, I feel like Sydney would tell Dee the truth. I want to hear more about how this happened because it was very strange to see Dee pitch Leroy's plan to Leroy, and Leroy looked genuinely intrigued and surprised to hear this news from Dee.
Right. And then we didn't even get, like, let's say he was faking surprise, that we didn't even get the confessional being like, amazing, my plan has worked. It's even gotten to Dee. Everyone's in on it. I'm the master plan. Mwahaha. It's crazy we didn't get that. Yeah, it was, the editing of this was odd.
We also had Turbo going to Dee and Derek, who again don't get a vote because they're in the bottom, about really seemingly like he really wanted to send Anissa and Jake in. And I wasn't sure if Theo was in on the, if Turbo was in on the plan, or if that was just like a test rollout of how to get this information out. But it did seem like people working together were not having like super honest conversations with each other.
It did seem like there was a lot of people that independently all came up with this idea of making Theo feel safe, which again goes back to, how did Theo and Olivia not come up with the idea that, oh, they might make you feel safe and then misdirect the vote? Which again, maybe they thought that was the case and were just hoping to be wrong or something, but not, I would say not the best look for Theo and Olivia that they did get snowed by this.
Unless, and this is the only thing I could think of about this, unless Theo and Adrian were absolutely already decided, no matter what, they were never staking a claim. Like if they were like, I think we could beat Dee and Derek, I'd rather go in, come back for our alliance and figure out if we want, like once we stake a claim once, we can again, like let's wait until we're really afraid of the person in the elimination, or let's see how the next weeks play out. Like,
sure.
I know they like Anissa seemed to really get snowed. Theo seemed really pissed after the elimination, like he got snowed. But maybe no matter what, they weren't wanting to use their stake this time around.
That's possible. I think the idea of them maybe looking to save it for if Turbo and Sydney are in the elimination, or Jeremy and Aviv are in the elimination, or something like that. Maybe they're just like, genuinely weren't that afraid of Dee and Derek, and maybe rightly so. And they were just like, yeah, worst case scenario, we go in, we feel confident we would just beat them.
What was going on with Michaela's speech at the deliberation?
Again, this is where I love Michaela, because there's no reason to be doing the Leo of it all and giving like a full speech. It just, as I said, Leo, it is. I feel like we were kind of on this immediately with his partnership with Ashley, of like being swallowed by like that group of like the vet women, of like Leo is like, as I think it was Ashley who pointed, or maybe it was Adrian who pointed out, like Leo has lost all of his bike, all of his bark, like from the first half of the season. He's completely gone silent. So maybe he's someone who almost might stake a claim because he's like, I'm getting bored in this partnership and just like do something fun. But yeah, Adrian clocked that perfectly. Like he is just completely neutered any like sway he's had in this game. He's done nothing since being with Ashley. So
yeah, and like it's easy to say that when you're on the bottom and you'd be more motivated to do something. Like Leo's got no reason to do that. He's already made a splash and now he's in a pretty good position. He's like sitting pretty. So from a TV perspective, like he's not as focused on the camera time as maybe he should be, but like from a game perspective, like it's harder to be motivated to upset the apple cart when you're eating good in the apple cart. I don't know.
Yeah, but
really
Michaela's speech, yeah, I didn't really get it. It felt like Michaela was still trying to sell the story and really just play into it. Good on her to really get into the bit, even when the bit is over, and just rubbing salt in the wounds of making Anissa feel extra safe, and then, or extra going in, and then like twist the knife and voting in Theo and Adrian. But sure, good on you.
Anissa says like she made a speech completely directed at me, but then didn't vote for me. And so what Michaela says is like, even though people aren't even telling, certain people aren't telling her certain things, like who they're voting for, and there are people I've had to protect multiple times, and like I don't want to protect them anymore, but I'm going to vote with the House and vote Theo and Adrian. Again, like I don't know if Michaela is playing 4D chess when she really needs to be playing checkers, and that's just who she is because she's a smart survivor strategy player. Perhaps there's like still this like fake. I mean, I know Anissa left the room, but maybe like that was because of Nany and Ashley. Maybe Michaela is still fostering this relationship with Anissa from the old room, and Anissa was being coy about who she was voting for. Like again, it's like we're getting segments aired that suggest there were conversations that we didn't see. I wish we were either seeing the reason for those statements
Mm-hmm.
and seeing those conversations, or not seeing the result, because it
Yeah.
is Michaela's not just firing out of nowhere. Like, certainly there was a conversation with her and Anissa that didn't end up mattering to the story, but then we don't need to see Michaela's meaningless speech.
Yeah, either show it all or show none, or do some flashback thing. They love a good flashback to like make things make more sense. It is weird just to show part of a story without like the full context when they don't need to show the story at all. Like, they could have just like, we didn't need to see this if they weren't going to tell the whole thing. So yeah, a little bit of odd editing choices we've seen so far this season in that
And
regard.
then, stretching that a lot, bad on Anissa if Michaela is still giving her some room to play. And Anissa's just like, no, I still can't kind of tell you who, like, Anissa almost seems like she's playing a confident game where she has a million friends in the house and the Vacation Alliance is there and all of these people are there who have her back. No one has your back.
Mm-hmm.
If Michaela's at least playing ball with you, why you're alienating her makes no sense.
And Anissa this whole time, I feel like, has been trying to play like the snake game, like going back and forth, working both sides, trying to like navigate things. So it and that confessional that she has of being like, well, I guess Leroy with his two kids went like really doing whatever he can for the money, and here I am just to lose. It's such a loser confessional. It's like so bad. Like you can't like. She has to know she's gonna get clowned on for that confessional. Like she's going to, like, all the jokes, all the memes about Anissa being on the show for so many years and never winning. You can't have a confessional being like, well, I guess some people will do what they can for the money, and I just have to, learn to be better. It's like, yeah, and you've been on this show for 100 years. Like, it's either embrace that, or you just can't have the confessional being like, well, some people have evolved to like be more cutthroat, and I just have to do better. Either say like, I won't do that, and like that's stupid to say, but like at least own that, or do it. You can't have it both ways. Of like, oh, some people will do it. Like that was just so bad.
Yeah, it was. And it reminds me, like, I feel like because I was trying to get to the bottom of like the weird duplicative who gets credit for the move thing, that I did not give Leroy enough of his flowers for inspiring that confessional. And
Yeah.
that conversation, whose ever idea it was, maybe it was Leroy's, and that would be awesome. And if he intended to have them over here or not, he played Anissa like an absolute fiddle. That was an awesome game move from Leroy, and kudos. That's what Anissa should be saying. It's like, I need to learn from Leroy, not
Yes.
I guess some people are willing to, play this game.
It's crazy. Yeah, it was just so bad. So bad.
And it's a perfect example of why I think this season is so good compared to past seasons, because Anissa has become comfortable and complacent in playing a game where you have 15 of your friends cast on the show, and those people perform well and protect you, and you perform in eliminations when you need to. And that's how it goes. And like, this is a season where, people with the most tightest like pre-existing relationships, or who came out in front with the tightest like, oh, we're the UK alliance, this is me and my boyfriend, like, got decimated early.
Mm-hmm.
Bananas, not that he was there with like a ton of friends, he got out early, and now everybody's got a scrap, and that's not a game that Anissa has had to play in a while, and it's making excellent television for everybody else.
And I would say in the running for, given that we know that she leaves this week, the most weird scene, I would say, of the entire season is the potential flirt match between D and Turbo, which, again, it's very bizarre. I don't know, like, it obviously doesn't amount to anything. D goes home. Maybe they're flirting now more on the outside. I don't think so. I would doubt they've said 2 words to each other since the season has ended, but good on them for smiling at each other, I guess.
Yeah, that was weird. Didn't see that on my bingo card for 41. Kind of glad to not see that pay off. Yeah. Whatever. A couple things quickly from the vote, and I know people voted the way of their alliance.
Yeah.
Theo and Adrian going. What is Will's plan, right? Because Will is obviously close with Nany. Will's makes a jerk comment again about D, which is just like loser. But like, Will just seems to be voting with Olivia. And now, obviously, it's because the vote is presumably becoming between Olivia and Olivia's boy. The vote is for Olivia's boyfriend. So I don't think Will expects Olivia to vote for her boyfriend. But is Will going to continue to be protected if Theo and Adrian go home? Like, what is he thinking about here when he's just kind of going along with the minority votes?
I think if I was him, I would be like, I have a great partner in Olivia. If I get to the end, we have a chance to win. The fact that we have such an amazing shield in front of us, I'm going to ride that as much as I can. And I think if and when Theo and Adrian go home, then maybe we see Will maybe look to stake a claim of like pulling the ripcord and getting out of there, unless it's like right before the final and he could try to ride the wave, because I think he potentially could win a season with Olivia and he has someone blocking. Like all these votes are never like, well, Theo and Adrian keep winning, so maybe let's go after Olivia and Will. Like that conversation hasn't sparked at all. And I think, the way usually the challenge works, once you start voting someone in, you just vote them in every time. So I don't even think it will happen. So happily put. I think Will's just going to try to ride this out as long as he can and try to just get to the end with Olivia. And if he needs to stake a claim, like he can just do it.
Well, that's what's so weird about Will is like in this challenge and even in the preview for next week, but really in the challenge, he's complaining about Olivia and he thinks Olivia is underperforming and doing poorly. I'm with you. Like, I think that's crazy. I think, they haven't won, but Olivia and Will, like in a final, have like a top 5 chance if the pairs stay how they are now of winning. And they don't seem like they're getting votes to go in the next 2-3 teams that would get targeted. I don't know why he would stake a claim here or complain about Olivia or isolate Olivia, but we've seen Will be the most erratic person on the season at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he might jump ship sooner than he should, which would be insane. And I look forward to coming here and being like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I'm almost a little surprised we don't see him, especially if he thinks the vote's Anissa and Jake. Like, we don't see him either more in on that plan from Nany. Like, I think he's in that alliance because of Nany, but he's not really, because he's not privy to any of their information, at least that we're seeing.
And he's not voting that way. So he's just like, sort of in there, but not really.
We find out from Theo he's really confident. He's going in confident against Eric because his psychic told him he was going to hit 3 eliminations and make the final. I was like, did your psychic say anything about your girlfriend being pregnant during the season? Could she see baby? Did she draw the baby card? Like the mother card? Mother? Like what like,
so this would
really
be 3.
helped him out.
So this is the 3rd, right? So this would be 3. So I guess if he goes in again, he's gonna be like freaking out, I guess, right? Like he's gonna be like, well, I'm not privy to this. I don't know what to do after this one. So I think I'm screwed.
So the psychic's like, well, even if you go into 4 eliminations, you did go into 3, so I was still correct.
Right. And you did a mini final, so I was like half credit.
But let's talk about the elimination he does do, his 3rd. I'm calling this seated joust with pillows, but let us know what it was actually called.
it was called Bad Dreams. It was done each partner up on a pole above water, seated with a pillow, and you have to use the pillow or to try to knock the other person off. 5 rounds, but you only get a point if both partners win, and both partners have to knock the person off to get a point.
Now that felt unusual to me because we've seen it before where it's like the men go, the women go, the men go, the women go, and then there's like a sudden death round of like which one gender will go again.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened. I can't recall like seeing this frequently where you have to win. Both of you go at the same time and you both have to win.
Right.
I did not mind it, but I guess it wouldn't have really mattered here.
It wouldn't. And that's the thing, is like you don't really see them going at the same time. Normally it would have been like 3-4 rounds, like they each go twice, and then like they flip the coin for the 5th round or something like that. So yeah, I mean here, even if he did it, I mean, yeah, the scoring, it sounds cooler than it is, because even if like the scoring could have just been if you knock the other person off, you get a point. It would be the same thing. Like that's it, there's no difference in the scoring. So the fact that they were just going at the same time, but going the same amount of times was, I guess, the big difference than maybe what they normally would do.
The other thing is, and I like this, is the sudden death round in the past has just been the same thing. Like you pull Russell again, whatever. I liked that there was a nuance to it where they had to go from standing, because then it
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel as a foregone conclusion. Usually I feel like it's like, okay, we saw the same person win the last round, they're going to win again.
Yeah.
Here I was like, oh, maybe Derek can beat Theo, even though Theo's gotten him down with half a hit from the pillow every single other time.
Yeah. I agree. I almost wondered if there should be some mechanism where, and I like either the winning team or maybe one of the elimination teams is like technically like the home team, like they have home field advantage where in a tiebreaker they get the pick. So like maybe it's the team that's voted in because they didn't finish last, like they have a slight advantage. Like if it's a tiebreaker, you get to like pick your player or pick whatever, and like that gives you a slight advantage in elimination if it comes to it. I don't think they've ever really done something like that, but I think that could be a fun thing to include, even for like the winning team for the daily this week, because like for this season, you don't really get much power. But like if your power was in a tiebreaker in an elimination, you could pick the people that do it or something. I don't know. I think it could be a fun little extra for the one or two times the tiebreaker happens in elimination to have that like baked into the format.
It's interesting. I like the idea of the winning team getting to pick way more than advantaging the team who's just voted in, because I'm not willing to, I'm not saying you're saying this, but like I think that communicates that losing the challenge is worse than being in a bad position socially. And I think it's like equally bad. Like the house votes you in or you shit the bed in the challenge. Like those are two
Mm-hmm.
failures of the show. But giving the winning team, especially like you said in a season like this where the winning team has very little power, that slight thing, I like that, because that also can pay dividends later if the team you seemingly tried to disadvantage wins and comes
Right.
back even more pissed, or goes home and comes back next season pissed. So if that can affect the game, I think that's cool. Otherwise, I was totally fine with like just elevating it to stand. I think they should do this at minimum. They should do that moving forward, so we're not just watching a sort of de facto win from whichever gender was
Yeah.
whichever person kept winning those heats.
I do have one issue. I love TJ. He needs to flip the coin higher. Like that thing rotated like twice at the like maybe three times at the most. That thing needs to, you need to get some elevation on that thing. That was a very, very low flip in my head. So he needs to work on his coin flipping.
There you go, call him out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Otherwise, I thought this was like fine. I actually thought it was really interesting. We see Derek. I loved actually the dispute between Derek and D, where D was like being strategic, being methodical, like let him come to you. Don't make the first stupid move and then be off your balance and he hits you.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be a hero. Derek does that anyway.
Yeah.
And then does a flying squirrel technique where as he's falling, he tries to just check Theo and he missed. I think that actually might have been a bold technique for Derek to have tried otherwise, is just lunge at Theo and hope he hits the ground first.
I don't think that would be allowed though, because I think they had like the
Why
separator in the
not?
middle where, because I think that I
We
don't think
used
you're
to see
allowed
it in Survivor at least, like where people would just launch off.
I mean, look, if you're falling and you're about to lose, like, as Adam Klein would say, it's worth a shot. Like you might as well do it and make them make the call that it's not allowed. But I would guess based off the rules, like you wouldn't be allowed to put your hands on the other person. That's why they had like the red paint in the
Well, you
middle.
jump
Like,
with the
can't cross
pillow.
that. Sure. Again, like he's about to fall in the water. You might as well do something to like miraculously save your life. But again, if I had to guess, I would say like, no, you can't like just knock the pillow off, or you can't try to knock him in. I think it would not be allowed, but I mean, who knows with the rules?
What if you threw your pillow at their pillow and their pillow hits first? Like maybe you're right that it's not worth it.
No, it's definitely worth it. No, it's definitely worth it as you're
No,
falling
I meant as the first instance.
Oh,
like
sure,
in the
it's
first
instance.
instance.
Yeah.
But I also thought Theo wasn't even in the box. Like I thought Theo was way further away from Derek than he was. So I wasn't sure how well that was being enforced, those markers.
But I could not believe how bad Derek was. As they were pointing out, like this elimination screamed that Derek should be good at it. Like he's good at like, especially the tiebreaker of like the low center of gravity, the balancing. He's very shifty. Like Theo is a tall, like I know he's muscular, but tall, lanky guy. Like he even when he first got on the beam, he was like struggling to balance. I thought Theo would like just tip over immediately. I couldn't believe how bad Derek was, and especially in the tiebreaker. I think if Derek just stands there, he could just outstand Theo, and Theo eventually would fall in or something like that. So it was. I mean, Derek pointed, like he said it himself, so it's not beating a dead horse, but this was like the single worst performance I think Derek's ever had on anything in the challenge history.
Yeah, and who got the confessional saying he should hang it up after this? Was that Michaela?
I think it was Sydney.
Oh, Sydney, or it's like Ashley. Someone said that, and I was like, wow, that's like pretty brutal for that to make air. But I don't know. I thought Theo had the huge advantage in this. Yes, everything you said for the last round, I was hopeful Derek would win that, and I think Derek screwed up, but like he choked in that moment and made the wrong decision. I think he could have won that heat if he had played it right. I think Theo's reach is like the biggest advantage in the seeded portion. Like Derek could barely touch him, and Theo could knock him quite
Yeah.
easily. I think
But
that's a huge advantage.
it was just like they kept doing the vision. Like Derek was never putting his arm up. He was just like, I think he was trying to tire him out, but he was tiring him out with his head instead of like just putting the arm up and block the pill. He was just letting him berate him over the head over and over. I don't know what the game plan was. I mean, you would think you lose 1, 2, 3, 4. Like he just kept doing the same thing over and over again. I feel like I was watching the Yankees in the playoffs. Change things up eventually at some point.
Yeah, it was a brutal loss. TJ gives them the top tier TJ salute of like, I'm sure we'll see you both back here, which is I guess good for D, standard for Derek. Do you think Derek? You know, we evaluated this for John A. Derek, obviously an All Stars person who's also stayed in the fray for the main challenge proper. Derek on your invite list back for challenge proper?
Like I love Derek. I think I know he's a lot of people's like favorite OG. I know he's involved, like he's got his podcast and everything. Every single time Derek names pops up on a season, I'm like very surprised. Because I don't think he has any place on the challenge proper anymore. He's completely disconnected of what I feel like the show is trying to do with like different strategies and alliances and all these different shows. Like he should genuinely only be on All Stars. Like that should be his world. He could be one of like the captains there. But like for challenge proper, they need to move beyond Derek. I cannot believe he's still getting calls to come back for challenge proper.
Yeah. I mean, you have no fear. Like, I agree with you. I'm just like, it feels hard to drag Derek like that. And you know what? It's like, it's not even dragging Derek. It's like,
it's not dragging.
Derek can shine more, just like I think John A can shine more in the All Stars game, both in where his friends are and are coming back, and where he's at strategically in the game. Like, I don't think he's like physically out of contender. Like, I don't think he's the worst physically on the show at all by any means. But I think when you're known on one of the most exciting strategic seasons in recent memory, and you're known by the cast and the fans as like someone who would be happy they don't have to vote, maybe you don't belong in like this kind of game anymore. Maybe he'd agree. And like whether it's just because he's a nice guy, which he is, and we've always seen that from Derek, or maybe it's because he's got an interest in keeping everyone happy so that they continue to go on the podcast, which is a great thing that he should continue doing. I think it does not fit well with somebody like being willing to play like Leroy did this episode.
Like to me, the Derek type, this like straight-faced, pure competitor, is the easiest person to find on all these other reality shows and like drop in or like let people come back multiple times. It's so easy to find someone to fit that mold that if Derek is he's not gonna wake up and all of a sudden start playing a whole new game. Like we can replace what Derek brings to the show very easily in my head. He is for All Stars. He is for the nostalgia of it. For this show, for like the push forward to find new people that can be on for 5 seasons, we need someone who maybe played a straight face game in one season and now they're going to come back and play more cutthroat the next time. Like Jeremy. Like Jeremy's for the most part very like, just doing his thing. He's a competitor trying to build some alliances. I would much rather have Jeremy on 42 than Derek. I think there's more upside to see what Jeremy can bring to the mix. Like Derek, he's a father. He's not like all of a sudden start like hooking up with people on the show. Like there's no upside there.
I hope not. We're not asking for that.
Right. He's not like all of a sudden getting the fights with people. That's not who Derek is. Like there's just no entertainment upside with Derek on Challenge Proper. Like let him, that's where All Stars is for. Like for the nostalgia of it. Like I love Derek, but like at a certain point we have to like move on from some of these people to find what the new crop could be to get it to 50. So to me, like Derek's just not that person.
No, and like and MTV, the challenge has already sanctioned this, right? Because they have current contestants at times have done the official challenge podcast. Derek's doing Challenge Mania while he's on the show. Bananas is doing his podcast while he was on the show. I don't love that. Like, I don't like that. But I think we're saying this with the lens that Derek would continue to be like, the Bryce and Wen, the Rob of the challenge, where he's like bringing together these live shows with all of the new and old people all over the country. Like, that's awesome. Keep doing that. Keep coming on All Stars. I agree with everything you're saying. I think the audience will mostly agree too. But it's said, I think, for both of us, with like the utmost respect for Derek and his history on the show. Same with John A. It's just like the show is moving forward and we want the show to survive and we want All Stars to continue too. So like there's should be a separation of those two entities.
100%.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Theo's reaction. Because I think like, yeah, from a TV perspective, great to see Theo with that dog in him again. Like Olivia's been kind of saying he doesn't have the fight. Here's the fight. I guess you have nothing to lose. Not a great look. It's not a great look to beat Derek and D and then just like whoop it up, to quote the Real Housewives.
It's not the best strategic look, obviously, but I can get it because like if you're a Theo, like this is you're in this elimination against Derek. You win all 5 of your heats. You come back, you win the tiebreaker. You're 6 for 6. You single-handedly won this elimination. Your adrenaline is pumping, and he just lets it all out. I'm like, I think unfortunately, again, Turbo's like the worst person to get in a feud with. Turbo will remember this for the next decade. But it's incredibly entertaining. It's giving. I mean, this is like they're not in the same place, but it's getting very similar to what we saw with Jordan and Tori in like War of the Worlds. Was it War of the Worlds 2? Where they were basically going in every time, and Jordan, like their love like brought them together. We're seeing it almost here with Olivia and Theo. Like Theo's the one going in every time, but they're going in, their love is bonding them, and they're going against the house. It's a very fun storyline, and good on Theo. Like I ragged on Theo for the entire first half of the season, but this last few weeks, this has been War of the Worlds Theo. Like he's kind of coming back now, and it's I thought of him as knock on wood, one of the futures of the show, and like this is what I wanted to see from him, of him like showing no fear, doing a great job in elimination, and calling out the big bad Turbo up on the stage, where it's like it's probably stupid to do so, but it's incredibly entertaining.
He must also think there's no way that Will would ever stake a claim and leave Olivia, because it does incentivize Will to stake a claim. Because the further you dig you and your girlfriend against a powerhouse like Turbo, all the more reason to try to jump ship. I'm not saying it would make it a good decision from Will, but it certainly isn't helping keep him.
Probably not. No.
Before we wrap up, a little bit of recap from the aforementioned Bananas podcast with Nani last week, this week, whatever. I don't. Do you want the unbelievable information or the believable information?
Is it one or the other, or
no? I'll give you both. What do you want to start with?
Okay. Well, let's start with the believable and work our way up.
Okay, so apparently America, they were talking like America was not at the reunion. They were suggesting like maybe it was because she had nothing to say, nothing to talk about. At first, I thought they were making it like America was not invited to the reunion. But then at one point, they started flipping to say America declined the reunion. And Nani was like, she was like, shockingly, I liked America. She didn't annoy me. It's like, okay, I'm so shocked. But she was like, it's really bold to not promote the show and decline the reunion as a rookie. Like, that's really putting your money where your mouth is on, like, not wanting to be involved in the show at all. Bananas, of course, is like, well, I wonder why she said no. Maybe she didn't want to talk about, all the stuff she did, like Leo, whatever. Then they call Leo. This is all what was on the podcast. Both things I'm going to say are from the podcast. I'm not saying these are true. They're allegedly from Bananas' mouth. And in this case, Leo. Leo says kind of the same thing of like, she probably wanted to avoid it. Again, it's not clear from them if she declined or wasn't invited or both. Leo was like, of course they don't want to invite her if you're going to do something and not promote it. Like, why are they going to invite you back? But also, she probably didn't want to come talk about a few things. And Bananas is like, yeah, because she made out with you. And Leo is like, we never made out. She did try to kiss me through the headrest on the bus.
What is that? How do you even do that? That'd be very impressive.
Like, okay. And then the unbelievable information is Nani says that Anissa, like, she continues why she hates Anissa and like how Anissa not hates Anissa, but like why the fight played out the way it did and how Anissa was good with Ashley 1 minute, then not good with Ashley the next. So like it wasn't fair that she put a standard on Nani that she wasn't observing herself. Fine. Anissa called Casey after the show to basically tell on Nani that Nani hooked up with Will. They were of course broken up at this point, but like I guess Nani had asked Anissa not to do that. And apparently, according to Nani,
I specifically asked you not to.
Allegedly, Anissa and Will hooked up after the season.
Has this it's wild. Has this made its way to Anissa for Anissa to comment yet?
Not that I've seen. I like saw somewhere on Reddit that someone was saying Will denied it. I could not verify that. And I've not seen a response from Anissa yet. I've seen like, oh, Anissa blocked Will or Will blocked Anissa. Like I have not seen verifiable information. Well, let's see. Will blocked Anissa on Instagram. This is a headline for Reddit. Seemingly disputes Anissa's claim that he initiated sex with her and made a now deleted comment that could ruin her. You know what? I don't really want to be getting to this. Looks like maybe they talked about this on Challenge Mania. More on this next week because this is the most fascinating thing I've seen.
I would say I'm excited for the reunion for them to talk about like that part of it, but I've learned I'm not like Anissa. I've learned from the show for a number of years, and I will not be excited for a reunion because I'm sure they won't even discuss this in the slightest.
I don't know, but that blew me away. That blew me away.
It is just unbelievably classic Bananas to be upset about someone not wanting to address rumors to him that he started himself and then get upset about that person. It's oh Johnny.
Then also, you know what? Never mind. That's it. That's it.
Let's leave him wanting more.
Sure, or less, much less.
Oh man. You can subscribe. RHAP.com/challenge feed. Follow me on Twitter, Cohen Bryan _. I can follow you.
Nope, don't follow me anywhere. Wow,
No,
that was weird muscle memory. Vintage.
Join the Facebook group. I think we actually had I can pull them up, a number of wonderful 5-star reviews. Did I notice?
Oh, I have them up, unless you have them.
I have them up.
Okay,
we have
go for it.
Shout out Swag as Usual, Jen Omaha. I don't know if I want to be. This looks like it's someone's birthday, so I'm not gonna. Someone's seemingly birthday that it made their username. I don't know if they want to air that. I don't know.
Do you think that just saying a collection of numbers, even if it's someone's
I
birthday, can dox them?
I don't know. 05. Okay, 0208 1980. I'll remind myself for February 8th. I'll say happy birthday to this person. Peter Sings 26, and that's it for those people. Thank you very much.
Slay.
We'll be back next week for episode 13. Till then, have a good one.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.